So this is pretty interesting for me. I can't see most of you right now because the lights are pretty bright, and I have a condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which makes it very difficult when there's either too little light or too much light. So my eyes take some time to adjust to the changes in light, and I also have very little peripheral vision. So even if the lights were perfect, I probably wouldn't see a lot of you. But I can hear you. So throughout the presentation, I'm going to ask you, when I ask you questions, I'm going to ask you to say "I" instead of raising your hand. And I'm not trying to get you into a cult or anything or do some programming of any kind. That's just my way of getting some feedback from you. So again, the title of the presentation is Enabling All Learners, Mobile Devices as Transformational Technology. So before I get going here, I want to make sure to share some resources with you. I do have a website that I've put together, as Greg mentioned. It's luisperezonline.com. If you go to the Resources tab, you will find a whole range of different free resources that I've put together for educators. Everything from tutorial videos on accessibility to ebooks on how to creating accessible content. And you can also see some of my stories that I've been featured on, as well as a lot of the articles that I've written. So I still kind of keep a foot in academia. I just finished my PhD last year in special education at the University of South Florida in Tampa. And even though I work as an inclusive learning evangelist, I also try to keep my foot in academia and see what's going on in the world of research. So you can see some of the articles that I've published and peer-reviewed journals and some of the book chapters. And not to plug anything, but you can also buy my book through there, which is Mobile Learning for All, Supporting Accessibility with the iPad. And so that book has a lot of different resources on accessibility, and it also has a lot of apps that you can download. And if you're on Twitter, how many of you are on Twitter? Say "I." Aye. All right, if you're on Twitter and you hear anything during this presentation that connects with you, or you just want to send me a quick shout out, my Twitter handle is _Luis F. Pérez. So Luis Pérez is the John Smith of Latin America. It's really common. So in order to get a nice Twitter handle, I had to include an underscore there. So again, it's _Luis F. Pérez. So I want to begin with iOS devices. That's really what this session is about. iOS devices have been described as a game changer for people who have disabilities, like me. So what is it that makes these devices so powerful? Well, first of all, they're relatively inexpensive. We can install a communication app on the iPad, and all of a sudden we have a device that, even with the most expensive AAC app, is many times cheaper than a standalone communication device. And you have a device you can use for a number of things. You're not limited to just communication. You can do research. You can take photos. You can make music. You can record movies. And we're going to talk about all of those today. The iPad is also relatively easy to use. So I bought my mom a netbook a while back, and I never heard about it again. That's because she never used it. It was stowed away in her closet the whole time that she had it. I got her an iPod Touch. I hear about it all the time because she's actually using it. So this device is relatively easy to learn just because touch is so intuitive. It invites us to touch it. And most importantly, this is cool. And that has a lot of implications for special education. It's a device that does not have the stigma that other devices have. And so all of a sudden, our kids in special, who have special needs, all of a sudden they're the cool kids. Everybody wants to approach them. Everybody wants to see what they're doing with these devices. And for me, as a person with a disability, it makes me feel included because it doesn't point out my disability. I don't have to tell people that I have a disability if I don't want to. I'm just using the same device everybody else is using. And of course, we can customize these devices with a whole range of apps out there. And I used to include how many apps, but I would have to do that every hour. I've had to adjust this slide. So today,